from A Beautiful Horizon, and today I'm participating in a collab that was put together by Rachel from Day to Day Joys. So there will be a link in the description box to check out everybody's videos, and this is a big deal video. I feel like it was really hard for me to figure out what I was going to say because this is a draw my life video, and I feel like this is such a final type of video, like, here, this is my life. This is exactly what happened over the course of the history of me and why I am who I am today. And so that's a lot of pressure to like put it all together into one video that's like the video that explains your entire life. So let's take a little of that pressure off. This is not going to be a final say on my entire life. I'm just going to share with you some of the things that I share on my videos, on my channel on a regular basis, and kind of talk about where my thoughts came from and like my journey in those different kind of categories. So I talk a lot about homeschooling, about health, about family and my faith and that sort of thing on my channel. So I'm going to kind of go through and just talk about different aspects of my life and kind of what my story was growing up and how things were when I was growing up and how that's kind of affected me today. And I'm going to throw some pictures in there. I am not an artist. So I'm going to do my best to draw something that like at least you can figure out what I'm talking about, and throw some pictures in there. But honestly, I think that people who can draw well are amazing, and that's just something I haven't taken a lot of time on in my life. So maybe tomorrow I'll decide I want to be an artist, but as of today, I'm not one. So pardon that. But I thought I would first go into homeschooling because a lot of the mommies in this collab are homeschoolers, and I share some homeschooling content on my channel, and I was homeschooled. This isn't a surprise to a lot of you. If you've been following my channel, you probably know that, but maybe you're not following my channel yet. And surprise! I am a child of homeschool origins, or however you want to say that. So growing up, I was one of 4 kids. I have an older brother who has not been on my channel. And then I have 2 younger sisters who have been on my channel. We did the sister tag, and I will leave that video in the description box. I also have a video with my mom talking about homeschooling and her tips for homeschool moms. And I have a video playing guitar with my dad. So if you want to see what my family looks like, minus my brother, who I haven't done a video with yet, you can check those out when you have time after you watch all the other videos in this collab. And so all of us kids were homeschooled. We were a one-income family. My dad worked super hard. He was a super faithful employee, and he supported our family, and my mom nurtured and educated us on a daily basis. And I enjoyed homeschooling. I never felt lonely. I had a lot of friends who were homeschooled at my church. We would do a lot of field trips together and projects and art classes and what have you. So we were constantly doing things. I was very involved with my church as far as being on a dance team and doing dramas with them and traveling, you know, that sort of thing, to conferences with them, or doing dance performances and ministry and that sort of thing. And I was also in the band singing at one point. And so, yeah, I never felt like I had a lack of people around me. We were very involved in sports. I was on a basketball team at one point. I am 5'10", but I'm not that great at basketball. And I was the only girl on the team. There was no like all girl team. There was only a team that was all boys. So I was on that team, and I wasn't that great, but I did it anyway. And I played volleyball for a little bit. I really enjoyed some tennis lessons. That was really fun. And so I felt like I really had, we also had a time where we did some karate. That was fun. So I felt like I always had something going on. I was very busy growing up as a kid, and I really appreciate that my parents made that a priority in our lives to be involved in different things. And yeah, we always had somewhere to go, something to do. So that was fun. Or we were playing outside in the backyard, climbing trees, building forts, and eating oranges. We had lots of orange trees in our backyard. So that was fun. Okay, next category, cleaning. So I post cleaning videos on my channel, if you didn't know. And I don't love to clean necessarily. I know some people will say, here's how I started loving to clean. And I mean, I guess it's not the worst thing ever, but it's not the funnest thing for me to do with my time. But I was raised knowing that when you work hard, there's a reward at the end. And sometimes that reward is just seeing the fruit of your labor, seeing that you did something hard and now you're proud of yourself. And I think feeling that pride in your work is really important. And I think that's something my dad always taught us to go to work, to do a good job, to work as unto the Lord and not unto men. That scripture comes to mind often. And so that's something that I learned as a kid, that you work hard and you play hard and you have a good time and you're proud of yourself because you did something that you didn't want to do, but you did it anyway. So I really do appreciate that, learning that in my life, and that my parents instilled that in us at a young age. I did want to break and say that what I'm going to share today are things that are important to me, but there have been hard times in my life too. And I just, you know, I've lost people that I loved. People have passed away. There have been, you know, times we go through that are hard, and I just believe that God redeems those times, and that if you're going through a hard time right now, I just pray that He would redeem your situation, and that you would be able to trust in Him and know that there is something beautiful coming in His time. My theme scripture for my channel is He makes everything beautiful in His time. It's based on Ecclesiastes 3. And I believe that if there is a time that you're going through that you are maybe lonely or sad or just having a hard time, that you would know that there is something beautiful coming. It's a beautiful horizon. So just keep your heart and your mind set on that, and know that there is a rainbow after the storm. So I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I, like I said, saw my mom working really hard to take care of our house. She made bread just about every day. She would make something, whether it was dinner rolls or cinnamon rolls or bread or breadsticks or pizza dough or something. She would make something bread related just about every day, which I know a lot of people are paleo these days, but I was raised on a whole lot of bread. And on my channel, you'll see that I buy things in bulk a lot. My mom bought wheat by the 50-pound bag, and grains, you know, rice and beans and all sorts of things. She would buy those in bulk to save money. And that's something that I learned from her, and that's something that I do on my channel, and that's something that I encourage people to have some sort of food storage. I grew up in Florida, and that is a hurricane state. And if you know anything about what happens when a hurricane's coming, the shelves are bare like a week or so before the storm comes. So we were raised not having to fear that, because we knew we had maybe a water filter like a Berkey or something like that, and we had grains and beans and rice and that sort of thing and some way to cook them. And we were prepared so that if something were to happen and we were to lose our power for a while or water or something, that we would know what to do. And that's something that I appreciate my parents teaching me, is to be self-reliant and to have some sort of fallback plan in case something bad happens, and not to fear. I don't want to live in fear of something bad happening all the time, but things do happen. I mean, we've seen a lot of that in America, in the United States this year. There have been a whole lot of natural disasters, and I believe that being prepared is important, and that's something that I was taught as a kid. Growing up, our faith was a cornerstone to our life, and we were very involved in church, as I had said. We would go on Sunday and Wednesday, and sometimes we would have, if we were doing like an Easter service, we would have like a Saturday practice or a dance practice on Saturdays, or that sort of thing. So that was something that we were very involved in, and that's something that I hope to pass on to my kids, and that they would have just a love for the Lord and community and just building up each other in the faith, and yeah, just encouraging each other when times are not so great. Like I said, my mom would make her own bread stuff from scratch most of the time. We would buy pasta, but most of the grain stuff we would make from scratch. And we also ate a lot of vegetables. We would have a lot of salads and soups and stir fries and smoothies and all that sort of thing. So I really appreciate that we had a lot of that growing up, and I try to get lots of vegetables in my diet and that of my children as well. Home birth. I actually haven't talked about this much on my channel, but I had a hospital birth. It was a unmedicated birth with a midwife for my first child. It was in an Army hospital. And I also had 2 home births after that for my next 2 kids. And my mom had a hospital birth, and then she had me at a women's center, like a birth center, and then my next sibling was a home birth, and then another birthing center. So I guess my natural inclination with birthing comes from my mom as well, being raised that it was just normal and natural to have a baby, and she taught me about squatting to birth. And so that was always something that she had placed in my mind, was squat if you can. It's easier, and it's easier to have gravity as your friend instead of being on your back if possible. And so that's something I learned from her, and maybe I'll talk about birth more on my channel in the future. If you want me to, let me know in the comments. It's not something I've really gone into much. I know it can be very personal, and I believe that every baby, no matter how they get here, is a blessing from God and a miracle, and it's just amazing. My mom has always encouraged us to be entrepreneurially minded. That's a very long word. But just to think about what we can do to put value into this world, and knowing that God will bless us as we give to others, and just giving has been very forefront for my family growing up, and I really want to be a giving person. I want to show my kids that it's good to give to others as much as possible. When you see a need, if you have the ability to help, that it's great to do so, and that God will bless you for that. That's something that I really want to pass on to my kids. I have talked about how I met my husband before on my channel, so I leave that video in the description box as well. But basically, we met at church, and we became friends once we became like the same age group. When I first met him, he was in the teen group, and I was in the younger age. I wasn't a teenager yet. And so once I became a teenager and we started going places together with like youth outings and that sort of thing, then we got to know each other. And then he joined the Army, and we wrote each other back and forth while he was in boot camp. And then once he was done with boot camp and advanced training, he asked me to marry him. And so then we got married, and we moved to Texas. And one thing that I was not super familiar with growing up was moving. I had only moved once in my life. We lived the same place from the time that I was born till I was 12, and then we moved only like an hour away or 45 minutes away. So I wasn't super familiar with moving. I had always basically had the same friends, gone to the same church, and lived in the same area. And so moving for me was hard. That was a really hard thing for me to do, and I loved my husband so much, and I was so happy to move with him and start our life together. But that was a time in my life where I really had to figure out what to do with finding a new church, finding a new community of friends, and learning to live without everybody that I knew. So that has a lot to do with my channel name, and just the idea of knowing that good times are coming, that things will work out, and that God is faithful no matter where you are. And so over the course of my life, I guess you could say that I had a really pretty steady childhood, which I thank God for, and I thank God for my parents and just the community that they enveloped me in. And I just pray that I could share that with my kids and teach them to make friends easily, to learn your community, to be adventurous, and to know that good things are coming, that God has plans for your life, and even though sometimes we go through hard times, He's there with us. God is faithful, and He makes everything beautiful in His time. Please check out the playlist in the description box. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I would love for you to be a part of my channel here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!